And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Today we're taking a look at the Ninth World, a skill-building game for Numenera. Now Numenera is an RPG game that I know is set like a million years in the future, and it's kind of like a mix between fantasy and techno-punk type stuff. It's pretty interesting. I've never played the RPG. I never really heard much of Numenera until I played one of the Thunderstones that was set in that realm, and I thought, wow, this is pretty neat stuff. I like the theme a lot. And so they're bringing this in here. This is called a skill-building game. I played deck building, hand building, bag building, token building. What's skill building mean? Well, it's kind of like a hand building game where you're building a hand of cards. You have 5 cards. You'll be changing those cards and using those cards to bid on various things and go out and fight and do stuff like that. Let me show you. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to pick a hero that you're going to be. They have kind of a story on the back or some, it tells you a little bit about that hero. So essentially, each hero will come with, I am a tough jack who controls beasts. I am a charming nana who entertains. And so each one's going to tell you a little bit about those characters. You also have these. This is kind of a shield that you have that you'll be able to hide your cards behind. So once you pick your character, so let's say I pick, you pick Scully. I am Scully. I am a stealthy glaive who explores dark places. You'll see there's Scout 1, Combat 1. And also has a special ability here for the character and a special ability for combat. You're then going to take, so I take a Scout 1 and a Combat 1, and then I'm going to take 3 effort cards. Because if you notice, there's 5 things: Scout, Tinker, Charm, Combat, and Focus. These cards go from 1 to 4. Now, you will start with 2 at the beginning of the game that correspond to your abilities. As the game goes by, you will have the chance to upgrade your card. So I might turn a Scout 1 into a Scout 2 as time goes by. And I might turn one of my effort cards into a Charm 1. You can't have 2 of the same card, so you only ever have 5 cards, and you can upgrade them up to level 4. The game is going to take place over a certain number of rounds. There's a track here of round cards, and that track can change. Like this one, you can see that you can put these together and they'll make different rounds, and usually the odd rounds you'll play normally, and then the even rounds might have a special ability that's going to happen. And so there's a ton of these cards that are included in the game, so you can have all sorts of storylines and things going on. But the game's going to take place over 9 rounds. In each round, you're going to be bidding in different phases using these cards. And you can use any cards you want in each phase. Cards that you don't use at the end can just be turned in for Valor points, which are going to be kept track of here. And players will be taking tokens of their color just to show who they are. So you pick one of these colors or shapes, and that's what you're going to be using for tracking purposes and for other purposes. So when you bid in a phase, the cards are worth 1. Efforts are worth 1 no matter what. Obviously, so this is a Combat 1. The Scout 2 is only worth 2 if used when bidding in the Scout phase. So each phase, the cards that are that color will count as the number on them. Every other card counts as 1. So what's the difference between a Charm 1 and an Effort 1? Well, if there's a tie, then whoever plays more cards that match the phase that you're bidding on will break that tie. And then people will just go first and do the different things. So what are the different phases? How do they work? There are 2 different decks of cards. A town deck, you'll start with 5 of these face up, and a wilderness deck. So in the Scout phase, which is the first one, you'll see that there are 5 different phases that match the 5 different types of cards that you have. You're going to draw and mark wilderness cards. So in turn order, if there's any wilderness cards already face up, then you can mark them, putting your tokens on them, which means basically that you can do something on that card as time goes by. So there's going to be all sorts of cards in here that look very similar to the cards in town, but there's different kinds of cards. The cards in the wilderness are probably a little better than the ones that are in the town. Or you can spend a Scout point, and again, this is not in turn order, so if I win the Scout thing with 2 Scout points, then I can also just draw a card from the deck and add it and put one of my tokens on top of that card. You're not going to be able to do anything with wilderness cards unless you have a token on them. Although there can be tokens from multiple people on a card. If it's taking me forever to defeat this enemy, maybe someone else will put a token on it and defeat it before me. So the blue phase does that. The green, yellow, and red phase all correspond to the 3 different colored cards that are out there. And I should mention that when you turn over some cards from the wilderness, like this temple map, if you flip it over, it's claim and display this immediately. Discard this to add a focus point. Great. Or claim and discard this immediately. Discard this to add a scout point. Claim and discard this immediately. Look at the top 3 wilderness cards and you may draw one and mark it. But most of the cards that come out from the wilderness will be yellow and red or green. And these cards you're going to be able to do things with and claim them if you do so in the proper phase, which are done first with Tinker, then Charm, then Combat. So first we have the Tinker cards, or these are Cipher cards that you'll get in the Tinker phase. And these are cards that when you get them, a lot of times they let you do something. So like this, you can keep this card. It gives you 3 Valor points. So getting these cards is going to give you points. And then you can discard this to roll a die. So the game comes with dice that have positive and negative results. I roll a die, and if I roll a good result, which I didn't do, I can treat an effort 1 card as 2 skill points this phase. So that can be useful in the future. And these are the number of Tinker points that you will need to be able to take the card. So you're trying to save up and get enough cards. And you can see that as you're bidding in these phases, by the way, and when you bid, you put everything underneath your shield, you aren't going to be able to bid in every round. Well, I guess you could put 1 card in every round, but you're going to have to pick some rounds to skip. But in the Tinker phase, you can go for green cards. You can only go for wilderness cards that are green if you have your token on them, but anyone can go for the village ones. In the Charm phase, you're going to be dealing with quest cards. You can take quest cards. Now, quest cards don't give you a ton of Valor points, but they can give you more points as you go on a quest. You'll start here at the bottom and move your token up every time you do something for that quest. So, for example, here, I need to discard a Cipher, one of the green cards, to go up, and then I'll get 2 more points to complete the tier of this. This one has 2 tiers, so this one could be a total of 7 points, Valor points. Whenever you advance your scout skill, complete 1 tier. And the tiers are different colors, like so you can keep track. Whenever you claim a creature, complete a tier. Boom, boom, boom. So this one's 1, then 1, then 1, then 3. So that's what these quest cards can do. There's something you can complete over time. Then there's combat cards or creature cards that you'll fight in the combat phase. And here these guys are going to take a lot of cards to defeat them usually, but they give a lot of points. You just take them and then it does whatever it says. Sometimes they'll give you a wound, sometimes they'll give you a power card. When that happens, so here on my character, if I get a wound, I'm just going to put a wound card on top of here, cover my power with this card. In another phase, I can spend 2 cards to get rid of a wound. If I get a power card, I'll get a better special ability. Instead of being a charmer glaive who likes to break things, now I like to work the back alleys. And so there's a whole pile of wound cards, and they all have various different special abilities on the other side of them. And then there's the focus phase in which you will increase your cards. You can spend points, and I might be like, hey, I have a combat 1, I'd like to change it to a combat 2. Well, I'm going to need to spend 2 focus points to do that. And you also get Valor points on the main board for doing these things. As you can see, if you get your cards upgraded, you'll get extra points, but they're also very useful to use in the different things. And then any cards you haven't spent for any reason, you'll spend them just to take Valor points, and you'll keep going. At the end of the 9th round, whoever is the winner, whoever has the most Valor points is the winner. Okay, so this board here folds around the box, and it has a magnetic lock, which you can see here shows a map of the box as the 9th world, so it's a pretty cool thing. The game comes with a sleeve that goes around it, which I'm not a huge fan of sleeves because you have to take the sleeve off every time. This is what the game is sold at, and that's pretty neat, but I think I would just actually get rid of the sleeve if I was keeping the game. So the box comes like this. You open up the magnetic thing. Inside the box here, you will have these 2 plastic inserts in which all the pieces go. The card quality is extremely, well, not extremely good, but it's very good, but the artwork is extremely impressive. And there's so much different artwork on all the cards. They all look really good. I mean, I don't know if this artwork is being reused from the role-playing game or not, but I'm just very impressed with just how neat this artwork is. It gets me into the world. I'm like, what is this thing? That thing looks crazy. Is that a spider? Is it a wolf? Whatever it is, I'm running away from it. So it has kind of this neat, futuristic, cyberpunk type thing. I like that they have this big phase order card, but they really should have more than one of these to have the different players. The cards themselves, the tokens, everything is bright and colorful. I really like the colors. I like how everything looks. The only thing I don't like are these shields. you cover your bids with them. It just feels a little fiddly, like, hey, I'm playing, a card underneath my shield, or am I playing a card? It's pretty obvious what you're doing. We just used our hands like this. Is there a card in it? The cards are small enough to fit in your hand. We found that easier than the shields. Although the shields do look nice, and I like the fact that they're different colors and shapes, very easy to differentiate. Overall, very high quality components. So this game works okay. I have to say, I like the theming of it. It's a really neat theme. I like the pictures, the artwork. It's really cool. But the game is not without its problems. The idea of it being a skill building game is interesting. So there's 9 rounds in the game, and in each round you're going to be bidding 5 times. So that's 45 auctions over the course of the game. The problem is a lot of these the auctions feel sometimes repetitive. All right, everyone, next phase. Everyone, show your cards. Oh, no one bid anything. Okay, next one. Everyone put your cards. Oh, no one did anything. Next one. Okay, now 4 people did their things. Let's take our turn. Slowly going through the cards. And because there's a lot of text on the cards and things, and different things will go off, that's interesting at that point. But some of the times it can feel repetitive, constantly putting the cards in. And even though it's a skill building game, you never feel like you've really kind of upped. Like, whew, I finally got the 4th skill in focus or whatever. Great, now I can build up my other cards. But you can only upgrade 1 card per round. So since you have 5 cards, 2 of them are starting skills. So you have 3 level 0s essentially and 2 level 1s. If I move up the 1 level 1 to a 4, so that's 3 of the rounds to do that. And then I move up the other one to level 4, so that's 6 of the rounds. I can move the other 3 cards up to level 1, and I'll have 2 level 4s and 3 level 1s. You never feel, I don't think you should have to be able to level everything up all the way, but you never feel like, wow, this is really cool. No, it's like, oh, wow. And because the level 1s of a skill are the same as the effort cards, other than breaking ties, it just feels the whole time like you're, ooh, I'm a little bit better. I'm a little bit better. I'm a little bit better. And it never really felt that fulfilling, like, wow, I'm really improving. And sometimes just a card to come up, wow, it's the perfect card for me, or there's no cards out there that really work well. I took a yellow card, upgraded that, and now there's none of the yellow ones showing up. So I like the game. But I don't feel like I feel like the auctioning was getting repetitive, and B, it doesn't ever feel like you're really doing a fulfilling job. You might complete a few things here and there, but at the end of the game it was like, did you outplay me? I guess. I happened to pick skills that worked with the cards that came up. I was able to pull that card. It never feels like you made a really good move. And even the auctioning isn't that big of a deal. Sometimes, a few times over the course of the game, you're like, oh man, I hope I outbid the other person. But usually it's like, oh, well, you're the only person who did this. Go ahead, take the 1 yellow. Oh, and I don't know. This feels like this game could have been more, but it feels like the game concentrated more on the theming, which is fine. I like the theming, and I think it worked really well. But the gameplay itself it's not smooth. The rules are okay. I felt like they could have explained some of the things better, especially the quests. Completing the quests, they were not the easiest thing to understand. You constantly have to evaluate a bunch of things, and the die rolling wasn't that exciting. I mean, it's like, hey, roll a die, and if you get a good result, well, whoopee-doo. I mean, that's a 1 out of 3 chance. I don't know. There's too many problems with me to say this game is fantastic. But at the same time, I don't think it's a bad game either. I didn't dislike playing it. I just did find myself being bored at stretches throughout it. And I don't think that's good for a game, right? To be bored. I'm sitting there like, ooh, I can't wait till I gear up. And just when I felt like I'm starting to gear up, the game is over. Each time. And if a game's called a skill building game, then I want to be like, look at this cool skill I have. And the special abilities your characters have, you use them just a few times, and they're usually like, I don't know, let me go through a couple of these skills here. At the end of the scout phase, you may shuffle a cipher you've marked into the wilderness desk. That's not that exciting. When you play bid powers, you may add your scout card from your hand to your bid. Again, these are just not that exciting bids. Or you have these tokens that you can take off in the tinker phase. Remove this token, add 2 tinker points. Great, but getting those tokens back is really hard. So again, it just feels like the special abilities are okay. The card playing is okay. I feel like I'm in this world which is beautiful and vastly populated with cool things. But I feel like I'm just an ordinary citizen walking around occasionally doing some cool things. And I want to feel like a hero more, I guess. So I know that the general tone of this review was negative, and I don't mean it to be so. I think there's a lot of people who like this, but I think the people who will like this the most are people who are invested in this universe. I don't know much about the universe. I thought it was neat, but I think they might like it more. The skill building thing did not come through as clear for me as it should have, and I merely thought that overall then that made the game decent. Dice Tower Judgment, very pretty, but just okay.